Calling all misfits, rebels, leaders, and teachers, welcome to the one place where the only way to fit in is by standing out, where big goals are met with even bigger action, and where we talk through, then tackle all things entrepreneurship. I'm your host, Kelsey, and this is the Get Shit Done podcast. Welcome to the Revolution. Well, this is cool. And by cool, I mean not cool at all. I recorded this twice without success. That's why we're recording on a different platform. I'm sorry. If you're on YouTube and you're like, this is not the 4K quality I'm used to, it's because the last two just didn't save. So here we are. Hello. Hi. Welcome back to the podcast. I realize I dropped a bomb a few episodes ago and then I just kind of walked away and didn't really bring you up to speed. So yeah, we're having a baby. It's crazy, right? And ultimately, I talked a little bit about my mindset going into the new year and how I planned, but I thought today's episode is a reflection of popular demand. A lot of people have been asking how I'm tackling the year. These people don't know what's going on with me, and that it was really important that I set myself up for success as much as possible. And I'm going to talk about how I did it, because I think any of us would benefit from some of these scheduling hacks that I have worked through. Ultimately, if you're a business owner, you need to do this too. So here we go. When I'm planning the next year, and this is coming out in December, so either you've planned already or you're scrambling and you need to. It's okay if you haven't yet. I'm going to set you up for success today. We're going to talk about it. But plan your personal stuff first. For us, that looked like mapping out a maternity leave. That looked like blocking off some time to transition back in, like a slow start schedule. That also looked like blocking off Christmas to New Year's. And I did all that first before I even thought about what I'm launching when, before I even thought about what we're promoting, what projects we have, etc. And by doing the personal stuff first, it ensures that we're prioritizing and honoring that. And I really think we're going to have better rewards because of that, because the reality is my life is about to change and I have no clue what I'm doing. So by at least blocking off some time and space and launching strategically around that, I feel really confident going into next year. After we block off the personal stuff, then you're going to go through your calendar and you're going to do this. You're going to block off time for annual planning, so you're not scrambling to do it in December next year. I love to do it in the fall. I think that's ideal because it gives you time to build and implement things. If you're wanting to especially launch something in like January, you got to start working on it before January. You got to plan marketing for it, etc. So we do all of that in the fall. We block off time for quarter planning. That's a great time to check in, like, okay, did my plan for the year, does that still suss out? Does that still make sense for this quarter? Then we have a monthly money date that we do, and that's where we input KPIs. We talk about money in the door, money out the door, percentages. Matt and I do our money date too every month, and by having it just on the calendar and sticking to it, that's the second part of it, but having it on the calendar has been super helpful, and it's something that I think that was a missing link for a long time. It'd be like, okay, I know I need to log into QuickBooks. I know I need to look at my money or move money around or take an owner draw, but not having it into that habit was making it really difficult to stay consistent. And now that it's in the routine, it's a lot more consistent. Then from there, we do a quarter audit. This is the cool part. I don't think a lot of business owners really actually do an audit. An audit to me, that's the time I'm looking at those consistent monthly KPIs. That's the time I'm looking at the last 3 months of content we've put out there. That's the time I'm saying, like, what adjustments and changes do we need to make to the business? And I have found that a lot of business owners don't track anything. So step one, track your shit. The ones that do don't know what to do with that information. They're like going through the motions. They're filling out the spreadsheets. They're writing down their goals and their KPIs. But if you're not consistently tracking and then auditing, like making decisions based off what you're tracking, what's the point? So I encourage you to have that carved out time. And I think quarterly is enough time. We have enough data in 3 months to usually make changes and decisions if we need to. So I love a quarterly audit. And to me, that's a different activity than a quarter plan. I tend to plan for the quarter ahead of time. I'll do the audit and then I'll make sure the direction we're going still makes sense. And that will be especially true going into next year too. On top of that, let's talk money date for a minute. So for us, I have found the more that you can decide ahead of time what you're tracking, build out those spreadsheets, which, by the way, if you're part of CEO Bootcamp, those exist in there for you. By the way, if you're curious, I may or may not be launching a course in 2025 that will help walk you through this as well. But if you're left to your own devices, plan ahead of time what you want to track. So then all you have to do is on that money date, you're logging in and you're just updating information. It's a lot of work to like open up all your bank statements and think, okay, what numbers should I be putting in here? Where should I put it? Is this a spreadsheet? Is this a Google Doc? Is this a graph? Is this a chart? That's way too many things vying for your attention at one time. I encourage you plan ahead of time. Maybe pick one of your planning days I just mentioned. Decide what you're tracking, and then your monthly money date should just be updating it. That's not the time to add new stuff to the mix. So the monthly money date is great. I love doing it personally, and then Matt and I have one together, and I highly encourage every CEO to do it. If you have a bookkeeper and accountant, set up your monthly money date for after you get those reports, so that way you're not having to reinvent the wheel multiple times. And it ranges. I have some people who can knock it out in a couple hours. I have some people who spend the whole day on it. So choose your own adventure with that. One thing I'm kind of shifting, I'm tying either a facial or a massage to that day. I'm pretty stoked about it going into 2025 because, self-care. On top of the monthly money dates, we got the audits, we got the planning, we got the personal stuff on the books. What we're missing is content. And depending on the size of your business and depending on your priorities, maybe content is not a struggle for you. If that's you, high five, great job. Then ignore this next 2 minutes. However, for a majority of us, we are business owners and we're always looking to grow on however many platforms and ultimately convert those followers on those platforms to buying customers, right? A hack I have found in 2024 that's been beneficial that I'm taking into the next year is this. Carve out time for the content planning. And I love to do it monthly. I plan my launches for the year. I plan my podcast topics for the year. I even plan when guests are coming on for the year. I check in monthly to make sure it still feels relevant. And what I love about that is we shifted things for December. We were going to go a completely different direction for this month and we scratched it. We talked about it in early November. We scratched it. And as I'm sitting in front of you today, the episode we had planned for this one right now is completely different than what we're doing. But I think that's totally fine and it's a good thing. But all that to say, that shift when it had happened, had I not had intentional time designed to the content kind of strategy planning side of things. So I encourage you to do that if you're not already. And I also have found content planning time. That's a great time to seek inspiration. That's going to Instagram with a purpose. That's going to Instagram and like looking at reels. That's listening to some podcast videos. That's listening to some YouTube videos. That's like seeking inspiration. I think that's a great time to do that. And that allows you to have focused inspiration gather time. So then today, which, hi, we're hanging out here. Today is a great time to just sit and execute. I don't have to think about what I'm saying. I riff, for those that don't know, if you want like the magic secret podcasting sauce. I have a core topic I want covered in each episode. I have a bullet point list of things I want to make sure to hit. And then I have a call to action for every episode. And then I just riff. That's what works best for me. It may not be what works best for you, but that's what works best for me. So then on content creation days, the days I'm actually like making this stuff, I pick out my cute little outfits and then I just sit in front of this mic and I record and then I do the next one and then I record and I do the next one. And I found that ratio has worked well for me. Hey, Kelsey here to interrupt your podcast episode just to let you know of something cool we're doing in celebration of the 12 days of Christmas. All you have to do is hop on over to YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed to Kelsey Marie Knudsen so you get all of the bonus videos we're going to be launching daily starting on Christmas all the way for the 12 days of Christmas. And you have an opportunity to win a coaching session with me plus a guest spot on the podcast in 2025. All you have to do is make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, comment on the bonus 12 videos, 1 comment per video, please, and also make sure to comment on any of the YouTube shorts you see for the month of December. Thank you so much, and I'll let you get back into the episode. So continuing on this planning conversation, the other thing I want to bring to your attention, in case you didn't know, there's more to business than doing client work. You may not realize that, but I think a lot of us do great work. We love what we do. We love the people we serve. And we can see how the calendar fills up. This was so relevant when I was in the hair industry because I could see like, oh, I saw 5 clients today. Oh, I made $800 today. Like it was very obvious what a client work day was like. What was not obvious were my CEO days, which were Mondays, which looked like coming in and deep cleaning my salon, or taking inventory, or running to the supply store, or getting Christmas decorations and coming in and setting them up, or shopping around and figuring out what holiday gifts I want to give to my clients. There was a time I was working 5 days a week and I hated it. And when I shifted to 4 days a week behind the chair, a fifth day as a CEO day, that was the perfect ratio for me behind the chair. When I transitioned into coaching, it took a while to get my feet under me again. Like, what is that ideal ratio? And what I learned is there was a period, you guys, this is crazy. There's a period where I had 16 one-on-one clients. That's minimum 16 Zoom calls a week. It was crazy. I still can't believe I did that. But all of that to say, 16 Zoom calls a week, 16 hours just on the call, not to mention bathroom breaks, food, prepping for the call, follow-up for the call, one-on-one chat access, feedback on Google Docs and other things that they share with me. That was too much. That was my max. That was my ceiling. And all that to say, the best thing I have done in my business is really looked at all the different functions that my business has and identifying what days of the week are client-focused days. So for me, in 2024, that was Tuesday, Thursdays. We're keeping that in 2025. Tuesdays and Thursdays are client meeting days. Now, of course, there's other stuff that happens on those other days, but by knowing Tuesdays I need to be in client mode, it allows me to just focus, and I find I'm a better coach because I'm already in that mindset, and that's just the energy I'm bringing, and I'm not having to pivot and shift all the time. It just works best for me. So for you, if you feel really busy, if you feel like all the improvements you want to make in your business are never seeing the light of day, if all the systems you want to implement are never being executed or implemented into your business, audit your calendar. Odds are you're too client heavy, and that can mean growing your team to solve that. That can mean setting stronger boundaries. That could mean raising your prices. But ultimately, all of us as CEOs especially need to carve out a little bit of time to work on the business. That ratio changes depending on the need. But if you find yourself doing only client-facing work, you are not going to grow. You may grow by proxy. You may stumble into some revenue growth. But 5-10 years now, big picture, that empire you want to build isn't just going to happen to you. That takes CEO mindset, strategy, intention, planning, execution, and team and leadership. Audit your meeting days. Last thing too, plan out days to work on your business. And I use a couple different words to describe this. I have a CEO Monday thing that is super important, but to me, that's even different. CEO Monday is very much like catching up on all the emails, catching up on all the DMs, checking big accounts, like all of those kinds of things, making decisions, making adjustments as needed. There's a missing link that I failed to identify for a while, and I've talked about it more recently. It's white space, also known as design time. The reality is you are so deep in the weeds as the CEO that you actually may not have the time and capacity to focus on that stuff right now. That's okay for right now. If that's the reality you're in right now, okay, let's call that out. Let's identify that. Let's acknowledge that that's the reality. However, it cannot sustain. Because if you have very large goals and dreams of where you want to take this business, but you're over here having client meetings, you eventually need to transition into more that strategy leadership role. That's the only way that is going to grow your business further. Also, it's better for your team because then they can step up and they can start leading, which is great. There's so many reasons that getting out of the weeds is the best thing a CEO can do. But I think that really starts with carving out that time that is dedicated to those bigger business projects. That can look like maybe you're going to launch a community to support your funnel. That can look like launching a podcast where you're speaking and supporting your ideal client. That can look like creating a course. That can look like revamping the website. That can look like opening an online store. That can look like adding in a new offer. Those kinds of big projects that take time, strategy, decision, research, creation, those are perfect for white space / design time. So all that to say, those are my scheduling hacks. And I would say this is exactly how I would tackle a year without a baby. But all of this is really crucial with such a big personal life change. And I thought I would share that with you because I think people don't plan enough. I don't think they set their schedules up for success, and it just leads to overwhelm, burnout, and ultimately resentment in the business. And I know you have big goals and dreams, and I would love to see them happen. And I know you would too. So this is a love letter to you and permission slip to you to carve out some more of this kind of strategy planning time. And by the way, if you're struggling and you don't know what to do with that time, hit me up. Find me on Instagram. My handle is Kelsey Marie Knudsen. And while you're over there, say hi, say you came from the podcast. We're doing some cool stuff for the month of December too, if you're listening in real time. We're going to be doing some bonus content for 12 Days of Christmas. We're going to be talking all about that on Instagram and telling you where to go to find it. You can also learn more about the contest that we'll be running as well. And ultimately, I love hanging out over there. I'd love to see you. And I'm excited for you. I hope my reality and my urgency, my sense and desires to optimize my 2025 schedule, I hope all of those things have kind of helped you thinking about how you want to tackle the next year too. So can't wait to see you. Hope we'll chat soon, and hop on over to Instagram and say hello. Hey, thanks for being a part of the Get Shit Done revolution. My hope is this episode sparked a fire in you, equipped you with some practical next steps, or inspired you to take action towards your goals. If it did, please help spread the word by sharing this episode or leaving a review on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you're tuning in. Now it's time for me to hand over the keys and let you get shit done.